Hi guys, I'm Connor Green and I work with children and families when addressing behaviors or deficits of ADHD to help them adjust their environments, adjust their approach to get through some of the struggles that it can cause. And I've been asked to talk about how to keep children's rooms tidy. And I do have a number of things that I do go over with families, and these are things that I do myself. I'm not going to go so much into the why those with ADHD typically live in amongst clutter, but I'll touch on it. It's a very very large subject, and it's something that has to be collected from a range of different sources. It spreads out into a whole bunch of different areas. There's parenthesis for everything, and if I was to talk about it, I would be talking for years. There's one way that I like to look at ADHD and clutter and mess, and that is that the environment that we live in demonstrates how cluttered our mind is. So a really good way to see how overwhelmed somebody is, I like to look at their car. Okay, because the car is the hardest thing for them to clean. It's something that you will take a jumper in the morning to the car, you will leave for work, and then it gets too hot, so you leave it. And then if you threw it onto the back seat or into the boot or anything else like that, when you go inside, you just want to get inside. You don't want to pick up a whole bunch of stuff and then sort it out. You just want to get inside. And everything that is out of sight and out of mind, which is object permanence, that is very, very, very common within ADHD, is forgotten about because they haven't got the cognitive energy at the end of the day to really work through that. So looking at somebody's car, they will just have clutter or mess, or they'll have things that they should have taken out, or things that would take 2 seconds to go and put in a bin, but they haven't done it. This is the same sort of thing that goes for a bedroom or a desk or an office or anything else like that. A lot of people look at my environment and go, but your area is so clean. Like, yeah, don't look at my desktop on my computer. It's just cluttered with icons. I'm like, man, your desktop is horrible. I'm like, yeah, I know. We have our flaws. So let's start this from the top. Let's say that I'm in a house right now with somebody and I'm going to work through cleaning and tidying the room up with you. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to walk into that room and I'm going to start doing the chunking strategy, which is breaking down this overbearing complex task into smaller chunks. So it might be, all right, we are just going to focus on the clothes. We're going to grab the clothes and we're going to put it into a basket. We're not going to worry about anything else, just the clothes into the basket, move it out of the room. That's a whole other thing. You can go put it into the wash, whatever. That's all done. Get that out. You're then going to look at all of the toys, and whether it's particular toys, you might be able to clutter, you might be able to pick it up and put it into a particular thing. It might be that it's plates. Go pick up all the plates and the rubbish and take it out. Grab a bin bag, put in all the rubbish, take out all the plates. Just separate it into different things, and that's what you're going to focus on. You're not going to focus on, I'm going to work with this corner. Because if you work with just one corner, you might go, okay, I'm going to work with this corner. I've got a t-shirt here. I'm going to need to put that t-shirt back, but I've also got a plate here, but that's in the other room. I don't want to really go to the other room right now, so I'm gonna skip that. But I need to move that because I need to get to the other. It's not gonna work. So focusing on one thing at one time rather than a single corner or a single area. Just clothes, plates, toys that are a certain color, toys that are a certain type. Legos, we'll deal with that. Transformers, we'll go deal with that. Once we have broken down all the areas and tidied up a bit, we don't have to tidy up completely, and I'll explain why in a second. We are going to look at where the problem areas are. We're going to look at all the areas that were a problem. It might be that all the clothes are piling up in one particular area. Really simple. put a basket there, a laundry basket, a very tall one, just hamper, throw it in. Bonus points if you put a basketball hoop over the top of it. Make it fun. This is how you're going to deal with that problem area. If there is mess all over the floor and it's all to do with toys, let's say that it is all Legos. You might have tried putting things in drawers, but that won't work because the child is going to constantly fish through it and move it out till they find the one piece that they want, and now it's all over the floor. And that's how they're going to keep finding it. They're going to keep rummaging through it until they find the one piece that they're after. There are mats that you can get that you can put all of the Lego into, and when you're done, you can pull the drawstrings and pull it up. I know a few families that have done this and used this, and they have one, and then the child stops using it. They're really interested in it, they want to do it, and then they stop using it very quickly after. It is something that you might have to constantly remind them, or it is something that you might have to, at the end of the night, go, hey, we're going to move everything back over onto this. Or it could be the fact that you have too much. That is a big one. Having too much of a particular toy or a particular item just forms clutter, and they're going to constantly fish through things to find the one thing that they want. They are never going to really be sure of what they want because there are too many options. It's like going to watch Netflix and you're never really sure what you're after or what you want to watch because there are so many options now. If it was live TV, like a lot of us were brought up with, you only had one option. You either watched it or you didn't. It needs to get back to that. Too much choice, too much overwhelm just makes chaos. Especially for us that can't organize things collectively in our heads. So reduce the amount of items that they have that are the problem. If it's too much Lego, reduce the amount of Lego. And I don't mean throw it out. I mean, put it away and put it into a room somewhere. All the things that are not being used as much, move it out. You can bring it back. If they get bored of the other things, swap it out. But if that is the problem area, do that. If it is things like plates and dishes and bowls, no more eating in the room. At least that's one of my rules. I understand that in some households that might be difficult if the child is shy, doesn't want to eat with the rest of the family for whatever reason. And some of you might be going, oh, that's silly. It happens. All right. It happens. You don't have to understand it. You just have to accept that there are some families out there that do experience this. And it's simple. After they've finished eating, go and make sure that you collect their plates. Or, ask them to go and bring the plates out. But just make sure that it's out every single night. Okay, but otherwise, just no eating in the bedrooms. Those plates, once they've finished with it, they can collect the stuff, they can put it onto the plate, they can bring it into the room, they can eat it. And now the motivation to do anything with this is gone. There's no incentive to bring it out. And then it starts to pile up. And then the only time that the motivation kicks in, the urgency, if you've watched a previous video on motivating factors, the urgency comes into it when they've run out of plates and dishes and bowls. That's the only time that they will get up to go and address that issue. But what typically happens is somebody else comes to address that issue and there's a lot of carrying on and yelling. So just get rid of the eating in the room or make sure that you stay on top of it every single day. Those are the two options. Sometimes you might find things like sugar wrappers, like wrappers for lollies and sugars and chocolates and stuff like that. That is a whole other issue. That is not the problem. The too much sugar is not the problem. It's actually in essence, it's a self-medicating problem. Probably shouldn't say problem. It's self-medicating. They are looking for sugar. They are looking for stimulants, and sugar does provide a dopamine boost. That's what they're doing. That's why they are craving sugar. If they are hiding it from you, don't condemn it. They're not doing it on purpose. They are quite legitimately going for it because their body is screaming at them to go and have it. If they are stuffing it down corners and hiding it, that could be something that is they're just trying to get the clutter out of the way, and that is the best way to do it. Out of sight, out of mind. Just push it down the back. Don't have to worry about it. It's done. Aside from no eating in the room, if they're hiding those sort of things, that's actually something that you should be addressing with your pediatrician, because their medication might not be addressing their ADHD symptoms effectively enough. So you'll have to go and speak to them. If it's something that's happening in the middle of the night, they might need a medication that helps them through the night. Clonidine, Catapress, or Intuitive, something like that. But that is a whole other subject. I want to talk about the actual environment of the bedroom and how it's set out. So what we tend to do as somebody that has ADHD is we do something called the pile system. It's where you collect a whole bunch of clutter and you pile it together to try and organize it. It hasn't actually got a form of structure to it. It's just something that you have put together in an attempt to organize the chaos that is around, and you put it to the side. That pile is not efficient. It doesn't have any sort of category system to it, and it's chaotic in itself. It then also becomes very overwhelming to try and work through it, to try and figure out what needs to stay and what needs to go. What people sometimes often do is they might grab the entire thing and throw it out, and they end up throwing out very important documents or things that they needed or wanted, but it's so overwhelming that they just get rid of it instead of working through it. Another way that they handle the pile system, or the piles that they have created, is that they go, all right, I've organized it, it's still a mess, it's still in my view, I'm going to put it into a bag or a box, or I'm just going to stuff it behind something that I can't see. They'll stuff it into their cupboards, they'll stuff it into drawers, they will put it into somewhere that it is out of sight, out of mind, to reduce the overwhelm that they are experiencing from all the excess clutter. So the problem that you're going to have if you have a lot of furniture with a lot of drawers or a lot of areas that you can tuck things away in or hide them, that's where it's going to pile up. They are going to stuff things in drawers to remove the overwhelm. They will, if they have a drawer, if they have a nook, if they have a cupboard, it is going to be messy. It is going to have everything stuffed into it in a very unorganized manner. What I try to do is I try to remove as many of these areas as possible. I try to make sure that there is a limit on how many drawers there are. I try to make sure that there is a limit on room under the bed. So if you can have a bed that goes all the way to the floor, brilliant. Less likely that stuff is going to be lost under there, such as food, wrappers, anything. It becomes a breeding ground. I should know. I had cockroaches under my bed as a kid. And I still work with kids where every week I have to go, all right, let's clean up under the bed. Come on, let's go. The other areas where things will pile up on is surfaces. If you have a surface, it will become a resting place for anything. So if you can reduce the areas of the surface areas within the room, do so. Shelves, tables, bedside tables. Sometimes people have bookshelves that have lots of little nooks in them. They become just people that they just stuff them in there. This is where you're going to have to try and work out what sort of furniture is best for your child and in the best manner in that room. The less items you have in the room, the less likely those areas are going to become chaotic. So always keep that in mind. If they have less, there's less to put in various places. or the opposite, if you have less places for them to put it, there's less places for them to get the things to stuff in there and out of sight and out of mind. Other problem areas that will occur is anywhere that if you walk into the room, I like to have this, if you walk into the room, you should be able to see everything in the room. If you have a space in that room that you cannot see, that is where the mess will hide, because it's out of sight and out of mind. But that is where it's going to happen. I had my child's room that it was very easy to manage until they hit high school. And that's when they started collecting more things. They wanted guitars, they wanted amp leads, they wanted keyboards, picks, music books, all these sort of things. And he started to become very overwhelmed about it, to the point where he was almost in tears. And I said to him, all right, we need to completely rearrange the room again. It's no longer working. And so we did. We stuck to that method of, we just put the bed right up against the wall, so there was no nook, or there was no sort of out of sight place on the other side of the bed, because you would have to walk all the way around to the other side of the bed, and it was too long to travel, and it was an area that he could just throw things, and he was never over that side because there was no point. So we pushed the bed and closed that gap. We brought the bedside table to the opposite side, and that way that is there. It then opened up a lot more space on the ground. We got his bookshelf and we turned it up, so we didn't have the space on the top of it to put anything in anymore. The next trouble came from his cupboard, and his cupboard, we don't have a chest of drawers. We just have square nooks, and that is where he puts his clothes. And he will put his t-shirts onto a coat hanger, but on occasions I will find that he will just get some of his clothes and stuff it into that nook. And at the end of the day, that's fine. If that works for him, if that is something that isn't overwhelming for him, he doesn't have many clothes. We've reduced that because he wasn't wearing most of them as it was. And the ones he was wearing, he would just take off, put it into that nook. Those were the clothes that he liked the most. So long as I made sure that every week I said, all right, washing everything out, we were fine. We managed quite well. So it's very hard to tell you how each of your children's rooms should look or should be arranged. It's something that I hope you are able to address, knowing your child, knowing their interests, knowing what they like. I think if you stick to the rules, it should become a lot easier to manage. It's not going to be magical, it's always tidy. It's still going to take some effort, but it will take a lot less effort to work through. If you can walk into the room and there is no area that is hidden from view, and make sure that room is open, perfect. If you reduce the amount of items or toys or clothes or the things that pile up, you reduce them, you get rid of a lot of them, you put them into a box and you put them into the garage, you have less mess to tidy up in the future. If you remove areas that will become a pile system, if you remove the drawers, if you remove the tabletops, if you remove any surface where it can pile on, you no longer have those areas to pile on. If you get rid of eating in bedrooms, you're not going to have to go chasing plates. Hopefully with some of the tips that I've shared, it should make it a bit more clearer on what you should be doing or what you can look out for in your child's room. They sound very simple, but it's not something that we've ever really been taught. People just sort of expect us to just keep it tidy. It's easy, no problem. It wasn't easy. Not for us. But yeah, let me know in the comments if there's any sort of videos or anything else that you want me to address, any other areas that you want me to talk about, and I will be happy to go and do that. Thanks.